Hello and welcome to 21 Days Face Your Fears online challenge. I'm Mantu, transformation facilitator, energy therapist and writer, and my mission is helping people heal their past so as to be able to live the life of their bliss. I'm super excited to be your host on your journey of personal growth through fearlessness and the power of community. Today I have a special guest. Her name is Andrew Mastrand. Hi Andrew.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm absolutely great.
Awesome. Andrew studied Zen and art as a teenager, was trained as a filmmaker, and went on to become a copywriter, editor, creative director, artist, and poet. Through many years meditation, the study of psychology, philosophy, self-development, and a deepening spiritual practice, he arrived at the realization of unlimited happiness, freedom, creativity, and love. He's made it a life purpose to share this with others through his total being system of integrated transformational coaching, hypnotherapy, and bodywork. He's trained in life coaching, hypnotherapy, and Swedish full massage. His many years' practice of the meditative dance Five Rhythms also informs his intuitive and energetic approach to transformation and healing. He's based in London and is available for one-on-one life coaching, hypnotherapy, and bodywork sessions, creativity and coaching, meditation, workshops, and talks. Hello, Andrew, and thank you for joining us on this challenge.
Hello again.
Awesome. So, I'm curious on your journey so far. What were some of the main fears you encountered, and how have you been working through them? If you'd like to share a little bit on that.
I suppose you could say one fear would be putting myself out there into the world, which is something I share in common with a lot of people.
Yes.
The idea that if a lot of people really see who I am deep down and see every side of me, the thought that they might not like what they see and I might be judged in some way. And how to overcome that is simply to be yourself, to be myself, to allow myself to unfold, to be real, to be authentic, to share my passion, to share my energy, and to share my joy, and to simply trust that if I give my true self, my true offering, then that will be received, that will be appreciated. Because I know we're going to talk a lot about fear today.
Yes.
All created up here. All of the trouble tends to be up here. And very often, if we bring the energy down to our center, to our heart, to the center of our being, live from our authentic self, the fears dissolve like ice cubes in the sun. So that would be one of the major fears you could say I think I've done a lot to overcome in my life and helped other people with. Another one would be the fear of fatherhood. Just having a baby in my life and then being a good father, not being disappointing, not messing up my child's life. And again, so much fear is fear of judgment. Will I be judged by my son and society to have failed as a father? And the answer to that, and one of the ways of dealing with that and moving forward with that, I would say, was again to connect with my heart, to think, well, not to spend too much energy or focus on what could go wrong or things outside of my control, like what other people might think about me, and simply to connect with what I really want to give, what I really want to give love. So in the case of my son, thinking about my father did the best he could. And at the same time, I perhaps didn't always feel loved. So connecting with my heart, connecting with, I don't want my son ever to doubt how much I love him. So the answer to fear, as very often in any aspect of your life, is love.
Yeah, it's a basic choice. You either choose love or fear. So I love the fact that you mentioned that fear of putting yourself out there, because as you said, indeed, it's a major one these days. Many of us realize that we have certain passions, we have certain ideas and message that we want to express with the world, but we encounter different walls around us, or we build up walls to protect ourselves because it might be too dangerous out there. And um, during the interviews I've done so far, it's been a common thread: the fear of exposure, of judgment, of rejection, and it all came down to just being our true selves in authenticity and vulnerability, to be able to express our feelings, our thoughts in an authentic way, and just that's who I am. I own who I am, and this all comes down to self-love as well. I think
Yeah.
self-love is owning who you really are and being complete and happy with who you are. Do you have any other ideas on that?
Absolutely. I mean, the question of the self is very, very interesting. Who actually are we? Am I this separate, limited person called Andrew or Bristena? Or am I the infinite universe expressing itself in human form? I would say number two. So if we come from the mind that says, I can and I can't do these things, I am and I am not these things, then our conception of what is possible for us will necessarily be limited. And to the extent that we can dissolve those limitations that we've taken on in our lives, that we've sometimes taken on by society, from our parents, things other people have said, newspapers, there's a million sources telling you how the world is, how humans are, what is possible for a man or a woman or an English person or you know, the facts about your life are not who you are. The facts about your life are simply facts about things that have happened in the past to this apparently separate person called Andrew, Bristena, Frederick, or Georgina. So connecting with that, it actually goes beyond being yourself, because there's more possibility in existence and in being than simply being yourself, because you don't know how vast and infinite the future could be, going beyond what your conception of yourself is. So that would be my response to the idea of being yourself is, yes, you can be yourself and you can be any number of possible future selves that haven't even been imagined yet.
Indeed, because to define is to limit. So if we define ourselves with who we have been in past experiences, or with our thoughts, or with certain traits or characteristics, then we limit ourselves. And indeed, we are limitless, expansive beings. We are an expression of universal life force expressing itself in an individual body, and connecting with that and fully allowing that to flow through us and express it brings a lot of magic and a lot of possibilities in our life.
Exactly, and this is why I call my company Total Being. Call what I do Total Being. Um, the idea of being is unlimited.
Mm.
The only limitations are in our minds, and it's also interesting to see, where did they come from? This thought. Where does any thought come from in the past? Um, Very often from some external source. I've taken on this idea, just to take being a man or a woman, as I mentioned earlier. A man is like this, a woman is like this. Who says? Some book, someone, some teacher, a parent. Of course, our parents are very, very, very important. So much of our early identity is formed by who our parents were, because of who their parents were, because of who their parents were, going right back to the beginning of time. Um, and it's not necessary to limit yourself in any way.
Yeah, and we are very lucky to be living in these times of collective uprising, and I could say even awakening of consciousness, because we can see so many of us are becoming more and more in tune with this inner power, and they realize that the whole story is kind of boring, and that we want to create something different. We want to express freely and to share love and to just enjoy life, because there's much more to it than what we've been told there is.
Absolutely. And this word boring is interesting. I mean, what does it mean to be bored? I would say it means that your energy has gone down. I'm bored means, so what are you not feeling if you're bored? You're not feeling excited. So what do you want more of? I'd like more excitement and energy, which will very often be something new, something flowing, something moving. So boredom's like being stuck. It's like a low energy thing. And fears, coming back to your main subject, multiply when we are simply feeling a state of stuckness, emptiness, frozenness. Then the mind starts spinning like a hamster on a wheel, round and round and round. And then how to deal with that is just say, well, I notice my mind is spinning like a hamster on a wheel. Okay, sometimes to calm it right down, once again, to get in touch with what do I really, really want? It's very often a feeling. So what I really, really want, very often joy, peace, love, connection, and the fears, as I said, they tend to dissolve to the extent that you get in touch with your passion, your love, your heart, and the present moment, of course.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah, when you're in the mind, you're just lost and you can spend hours and days and months and so much energy. I've noticed we waste on mental pursuits, but when we come back to the heart and to being in meditation or in a practice like dancing or art or something that allows us to be fully in the present moment, it's a different dimension of living, and I would love everybody to be able to experience that and to open up to that possibility.
Absolutely. And I probably myself, I wouldn't put it in quite such a definitive term to say when we're in the mind, we are lost, because lovely, beautiful things can happen in the
Yeah.
mind. It's more that if we are confused, if we are mentally suffering, it is happening up here more than down here. It can be. That's where confusion can definitely happen. Um, as the energy comes down, life becomes simpler. You know, there are an infinite number of possible ideas, thoughts, and complications in the mind. As you come down to the heart, thinking about basic feelings that people could actually name, basic feelings, pretty much on the fingers of two hands. And then as you come down into the body, into the gut feeling, which you can't see on camera, it's very often just a yes or no. Do I fancy this person? Do I like this piece of fruit? Do I enjoy being on this beach? Yes or no. So a practice that I often practice myself and encourage with my clients to practice is simply bringing the energy down. And in the beginning, it might take a while. People may need some kind of practice, regular practice like yoga, meditation, as I used to need a very regular practice. And I still enjoy dance as a practice. And the more that you do it, you can simply make this shift of bringing your energy down out of your head, down into your body, without needing to meditate for an hour or do 12 yoga positions or 2 hours of dancing. It's like building a muscle. The more that you practice it, it can become very quick. You
I
can do
see.
it in like 2 seconds.
Wonderful. I like that. So you were saying you were helping people be able to expose themselves. Do you have any stories or examples you'd like to share with us of people you've helped on this journey?
Absolutely. I mean, just coming back to fear, I've helped people who have fear of commitment, um, someone who was unable to commit to any kind of relationship, now happens to be married with two babies, which is
Oh,
not to say that that is for everyone. For that particular person, that's what I supported them with. Supported people who have something creative that they want to express, whether music, art, writing. I get quite a lot of creative people coming to me. Supported them in connecting with their passion, connecting with what they really, really want, and then expressing that in the world. Um, in my work as because I combine coaching and hypnotherapy and body work, as you mentioned at the beginning. So I get quite a lot of people who, because sometimes before we can be fully free to do what we really, really want, we sometimes need to be free of some things that are limiting us sometimes physically. So, for example, people who are eating more than they want to, people who are smoking, people who are drinking more than they want to. So I help people dissolve, let go of old patterns and habits. So, I've helped people give up smoking, eat less, and give up biting their nails. And so sometimes some proportion of what I do is dissolving and freeing people from things that feel like a trap.
Mm-hmm.
And then in that released space, that kind of open space, it's like the blank sheet of paper or the empty canvas or the blank digital space on your computer that can then be filled with absolutely anything. So very often people will come to me and I'll help them be free of something and then simply be free in that freedom, support them in manifesting absolutely anything they want in the world. So it can be literally anything. From babies to art exhibitions to music recordings, public performance, and sometimes simply a shift, people just to be nicer to themselves, to be more loving to themselves, to be more connected with their partners, with their children. So literally anything that people would like to shift, that's what I'm involved with.
I love your work and I fully support it. Going back to fear of commitment, maybe some of the viewers who are watching this interview are experiencing that as well. Do you have any tips on that?
Absolutely. There's a very simple exercise that you can do. Well, before I tell you about the exercise, I would say, what does it represent to some people? So most people who have a fear of commitment, in my experience, have this idea that, for example, if I commit to someone in an intimate relationship, I will lose my freedom.
Okay.
They have this idea that freedom is over here and commitment is over here. The idea that these two things are separate. But really, the truth is that something is only separate because we imagine it is, because we tell a story that it is. So we can do the simple exercise with two things that anyone imagines are separate. So, for example, if you want commitment, let's say part of you, very often people come to me like partly wanting something. So I help them get in touch with what they really, really want. And so here is commitment. You could say love or intimacy, one of those. And over here is your sense of freedom. So very often what I help people with is visualizing completely, making it real in one hand, the feelings, the sights, the smells, the touch, the taste, all of the senses, all of the visions and pictures associated with committed, loving relationship, intimacy, and so on. They make it real in this hand. This is one of the ways that we can deal with this. There are many techniques. Then freedom. Visualize in the other hand. Picture it. How does it touch? How does it feel, smell, taste, look? Make it completely real. Make it completely real in this hand. This is freedom. This is freedom. This is intimacy, loving commitment. This is freedom. And then a simple exercise, bring it together. Very often doing with the eyes closed. We would take more time, obviously, if you were my client. Then you're joining those things together physically. Then bringing your hands to your heart, the center of your body where so much power is and so much love and passion. And you've literally joined these two things which seem separate in your mind in a physical way, united them in the center of your body. And then what I find very often is quite quickly, it can be within seconds, minutes, hours, very occasionally days, but usually quicker, people will have a different feeling about these two things that seemed separate. And some kind of possibilities and ideas will open up. That's an exercise you can do. And you can also, there's so many approaches to this. You can simply point out to people and help people be aware that there are many different ways of being in relationship and intimate relationship. Having some space, some spaciousness inside, some spaciousness between you. And also, as I was talking about what we've inherited in terms of how to live our life from old, such as the Bible, which has many beautiful things in, and other religious systems, the idea that this is the way for two people to be together, there may be many other ways.
Yeah.
So it depends on what someone wants, but very often the idea is if I totally commit to, say, for example, this person, uh, I will have less freedom. Well, maybe you'll have more freedom. Maybe they will open things up for you. So I help people get everything they want. Sometimes these things that don't seem to fit together. I help people visualize how the two or three or four main things that they want can all exist together and enhance each other.
Yeah, I love that idea of freedom and intimacy. They don't have to be separate, and we can find freedom and intimacy. We can find deep connection and still be free. And it's relevant to bring up the quote from Khalil Gibran on marriage.
I
And
nearly
I
did.
and I just opened it up in Google now. I'd like to read it. Love one another, but make not a bond of love. Let it rather be a moving sea between the shores of your souls. Fill each other's cup, but drink not from one cup. Give one another of your bread, but not eat from the same loaf. Sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone, even as the strings of a flute are alone, though they quiver with the same music.
Exactly. I nearly quoted it myself. That's the synchronicity going on here. That book, The Prophet, is so beautiful. There is so much wisdom in there.
Yeah, I truly recommend it to anybody who would like to be opened up to a more poetic and philosophical approach to love, life, and the beauty of the universe.
Yeah. And speaking of recommendations, some people might be familiar with Chuck Spezzano wrote an amazing book called If It Hurts, It Isn't Love. So much wisdom in there, so much wisdom in terms of supporting intimacy between people, not necessarily sexually intimate people, but with friendships, colleagues, anything. Helping people come together. And he says, keep telling the truth until everyone wins, you know? So the idea that uh, there has to be masses of sacrifice and compromise and, you know, the idea I win, you lose, you win, I lose. We can all get what we want if we share our needs, if we're open about our needs, and we ask for what we want without demanding.
Yeah, yeah. And always giving back, like giving and receiving, to engage in this flux, to give and receive, and it becomes a never ending cycle. And
Yes,
also
dance, like a dance of
the
energy.
dance, yes. Imagine being in a dance with your partner.
Absolutely, it
If
is a dance. A relationship is a dance, and where the fear comes in is very often the feeling of things getting frozen and stuck. Getting stuck in role instead of soul, role mates instead of soulmates. A writer I forget the name of talked about, you know, if I'm with you and we have an agreement, then that agreement can shift. If something's changed, just because 3 years ago I said I would always be the one to, you know, fix the car or find out about the holiday or whatever this job that you've given yourself or that you've accepted. Well, maybe I'm not enjoying it anymore, so let's have another conversation. So keeping the flow rather than getting stuck. And because you mentioned earlier about what is breaking down and what is rising up, I think, and the internet is helping with this, you know, what is breaking down is these fixed structures,
yes,
these hierarchies that where
yes,
this person is telling this person how things must be, and the move towards more freedom, things flowing exactly like the dance. Well, it's like this today, but this is, you know, as Osho says, you know, well, some ancient teacher said you can't step in the same river twice
mm.
because it's always flowing. And Osho said you can't step in the same river once. And you think, what's he talking about? What he was essentially saying was, you have an idea that a river is like this.
Mm.
A river is like this in this moment. Even in this moment, it's not necessarily as you think it is. So that's part of a recipe for being happy with your, say, intimate partner is being true to this moment.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm noticing nowadays more and more people are redefining what relationship means, becoming aware of the fact that we can't control someone, we can't see them as a possession because we're robbing them of their individuality. And there's no need to control or try to change somebody, but allow them the freedom to be who they really are and to be happy. If they're going in a different direction, then I honor that, and because I love them and I'm happy for them.
Absolutely. And to say not to control someone, it doesn't necessarily mean not to express your needs and
Yes.
your desires and your wants and your wishes, but just simply not to assume that they will give you what you want. But
Yes.
it's great to ask for what you want and to be clear about what you want. I'm a big fan of non-violent communication. I don't know if you've come across that.
Yes.
Yeah. So the model is where you talk about your feelings and your needs and you make a request, but you totally accept that your partner, for example, may say yes or no
And you,
because they are
yeah,
free.
exactly. You don't have an expectation, and you're able to take both yes and no for an answer, and this way you're respecting each other's integrity and freedom of choice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wow, I loved what the ideas that were brought up in this conversation. Thank you very much for this rich exchange, Andrew. And if viewers would like to get in touch with you, how can they contact you?
They can go to my website, andrewmastrand.com, and they will find information about my coaching, my hypnotherapy, my body work, and also my creative work.
Awesome. Thank you very much for joining us, Andrew. And
Thank you, Bristena.
my
I
pleasure.
enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you. And everybody, thank you for watching today's interview. I hope you were inspired and you start implementing some of the ideas we talked about in your daily life. If you found this interview useful, please share it on your social media. Join my YouTube channel, Journey to Bliss. Let your friends know that you're participating in this amazing online challenge for fearless warriors. And last but not least, click on the link below to get your free Bliss Blueprint with the 3 stages of radical transformation from within. I hope you enjoyed it and see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.